All right. So Israel, Most High in Christ bless everybody.
Most High in Christ bless you too.
So Marty, Jay. Excuse me. All right. So I guess we should be able to get through it today. We're gonna finish be the Most High's will, dedication of the altar. And then once we get that done, yes. Once we get that done, let's see how much time we got left. It's a calendar. So today's Tuesday, so you got the day and throughout the Sabbath. Sunday coming up, right? Okay. Good timing. Good timing. All right. So we're gonna pick up in First Maccabees, the 3rd chapter. Shalom, brothers and sisters. So we gotta know, we gotta understand why we be eating, what we celebrate. So when y'all hear that music bouncing off the walls and it's so loud that you can hear each other, and then you see somebody in their groove and they getting it on, let's just groove because the Most High used Christ. Christ is considered the right arm of the Most High. You know, most people, that right. You know what I'm saying? You see them do that right. Knock you, that right. And they going thing, talking like that. Christ is the right arm of the Most High. You can't tell me the Most High ain't a man of color, man. Y'all share the video. Christ is the right, Most High. Like, put that arm out there. Put that hand on you. You know, hurt his hand on you, man. So we're at Maccabees, First Maccabees chapter 1. We're gonna start at 1, but like I was saying, when all that, know what you doing, man. Know why you eating, why you celebrating. Okay? Let's get a couple precepts on that real quick. That hand. Wisdom of Solomon 5. Wisdom of Solomon 5, and start at verse 15.
This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5 and verse 15.
Oh, you start at 14.
Verse 14. For the hope of the ungodly is like dust.
Right, the hope of the ungodly is like dust. So they don't gonna have a chance, man. It's over for them. Like dust that you blow away. So when we keep that feast, when that day come in, know that the Most High destroyed them. Go ahead.
That is blown away with the wind.
Right.
Like a thin froth that is driven away with the storm. Like as the smoke which is dispersed here and there with the tempest.
Right. So you have to imagine all of that. That's what the Lord said he gonna do to these people. Go ahead.
And pass it away as the remembrance of a guest that tarried but a day. But the righteous live evermore.
Right, but we gonna live forevermore. Go ahead.
Their reward also is with the Lord. and the care of them is with the Most High. Therefore shall they receive a glorious kingdom, and a beautiful crown from the Lord's hand.
All right, that's what we get. We get a kingdom, and we get that beautiful crown right from the Lord's hands. So everybody is working out their salvation to the point to where we can bow the head and receive that crown. Okay? So let's imagine our sisters get crowns too. Now you're going to have a queen, a king, and your woman a peasant. See, that's hate, man. But get out of here with that. If you're a king, what is the name of the woman, brother? The queen. Okay? So be queens in Yasha. You don't lift yourself up and leave a woman behind. She's just a woman. Yeah, no title, no label, no nothing. I ain't like that. I shoot it to you straight. Okay? Go ahead.
For with his right hand...
Uh-oh. Huh? Hey, what, for which one? Which one?
For with his right hand...
With his right hand, that's the Christ. Go ahead.
Shall he cover them, and with his arm shall he protect them.
That's right, man. He gonna use Yahweh Shai to defend us. That's what Joshua saw, had that sword in his hand. He said, "Who are you?" He said, I'm the captain of this here host that you got. I'm the captain. I'm the honcho. Joshua dropped dead, man, like he was dead on his face. Is that it?
Yeah.
You see more?
Nah, that's
All right, so let's get that concerning where Joshua gave it up. Joshua 5, the 5th chapter. This is what we all, this is what we keep in mind. Don't play with these people. They don't know who they are. We know who we are. Salvation is of the Jews, baby. So every time you feast, you raise the roof. We don't need no water. Come on, man. We got to get amped before it starts. We going to bring you in starting a couple days early. You heard me? We going to bring you in the 8-day feast. First, we start with the scriptures. Then we start with sending them prayers up. Put that smoke in the air. More prayers, and then that music, man. And singing and dancing. And praising the Most High for everything that he did. Wanting the Most High to go ahead and jump, make a move, and make it short. Because we got next. Now deliver us. You see, come on. We got to be in the spirit of things, Israel. All right? So, Joshua chapter 5 and verse 13.
This is Joshua 5 and 13. And it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes and looked. And behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand.
That's right. It was out in his hand. You know what hand that was? I believe it was the right one. Yeah, that's the one he said he was going to defend you with, right? With the right hand. Go ahead.
And Joshua went up unto him and said unto him, Art thou for us or for our adversary?
So Joshua saw a man. He didn't see no vision. He wasn't dreaming. He said, wait a second. You standing here bold. I see the sword. You for us? Or you against us? Go ahead.
And he said, Nay, but as captain of the host of the Lord am I now come.
Who is the host? The host is Israel. He said he's the prince. But captain of the host. That captain means prince. Who's the prince of peace of power? Yahweh Shai. He's the prince of the Most High. And the Most High is the king of the earth. And Yahweh Shai is his prince. but prince of the host of the Lord. That's the Most High. Am I not come? Go ahead.
And Joshua fell on his face to the earth.
That's right. And Joshua fell. So if it was any other man, just like in the vision in Revelations, the man would have told him, see, thou do it not, for I'm a brother like your brother. No, that's Christ. So he bowed down. Go ahead.
And did worship, and said unto him, what said my Lord unto his servant?
That's right. What said my Lord? Who's the Lord of man? Christ. Unto thy servant, unto his servant. Go ahead.
And the captain of the Lord's host said unto Joshua, loose thy shoe from off thy foot.
Same thing, the same person. That's what he told to Moses in the 3rd chapter. Why? Go ahead.
For the place wherein thou standest is holy.
Why? What made it holy? Because I'm here. Go ahead.
And Joshua did so.
And Joshua did so. Okay, so hey, man, all praises to the Most High. This is who we dealing with. All right. So now let's go back and get into it. First Maccabees. Chapter 3. Yes, sir. And verse 1.
This is First Maccabees chapter 3 and 1. Then his son Judas, called Maccabeus, rose up in his stead.
So now we know at this point, Mattathias, he deceased. He died away. And Judas, his son, called Maccabeus, now he rose up. So he's commanding, and he's, instead acting like his dad would have. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 2. And all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father. And they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. So he gat his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him. And he made battles, protecting the host with his sword.
Right, protecting the people with his sword. So he went to war, fighting against those that would come up against his people. Okay, go ahead.
In his acts, he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey.
Man, you ever seen a lion? You try to take something away that he has, and he's gonna roar. His teeth. He's gonna roar. A lion is fierce, man. It's nothing in the jungle more dangerous than that lion. He was like that, man. His spirit, his zeal was courageous. It was outstanding. Okay, the way that he went to defend people. Okay, go ahead.
For he pursued the wicked.
Right, he chased them. Go ahead.
And sought them out, and burnt up those that vexed his people.
Right, he actually burned them. You understand? He captured them and burned them alive. All right, this is what Judas Maccabeus did in his prime. He didn't play no games when it came to defending the people. Now, we can't bust a grape, but hey, man, we got to get that spirit, that warrior soldier spirit in us, that zeal, instead of that lovey-dovey and wifey-poo. And the scriptures say he that is married as though he is not wifey-poo. Come on, man. Save that. Wait till you go home, man. You out here in these streets, B. You have to prophesy, man. Stand up. You understand? Be bold. Stand up, man. Prophesy. All right? Don't be afraid. So, this how this brother was. Verse, where we at? First Maccabees 3 and 6. Go ahead.
Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him.
Man. Y'all hear this? Now, we need that same spirit right there. But only We're trying to change the minds and hearts of people through the Spirit of the Most High that He give to us to teach our people to do things differently. And having the wickedness to shrink. Y'all gotta believe that, man. If y'all don't believe that, y'all in the wrong place. Because I believe this. Every time I go out, I believe that I can make a difference. If it's one person. I believe that, man. The scriptures say by one shall the city be inhabited. Do y'all know what it takes to start a fad, man? All it takes is if somebody or something to start trending. They see you doing something, and all of a sudden, they start doing it. You gotta have faith. So if you go out there and then you start believing in what you're doing and you start speaking and you start teaching and you start giving the sense behind what you're doing, people gonna take that thing with them. And they're gonna rehearse it, they're gonna practice it, they're gonna start saying it, they're gonna start mimicking, imitating it, trying to do it, and the Spirit is with them at that point. And somebody else go, oh, what is that you doing? What is that you saying? Now all of a sudden, they doing it. See, so, but you have to believe that. Believe in what you're doing. Believe in the life that you're living. You're not supposed to be afraid or ashamed of being a Hebrew, being an Israelite. Your nationality, keeping the laws, the way you dress, the way you look. You're not supposed to be intimidated because the world does something different. No, man, the world is wrong. Come on. You're supposed to stand up bold and be like, we went over this last week, that you got something to prove. You got to prove what is right, what is good and acceptable will of God. That's Romans 12:1. Okay? So the wickedness shrunk because of this brother. We can do that, man. They know that. And that's the reason why they killing black people. You understand? They killing you. They offering you drugs. They offering you all these different avenues that's outside of the scriptures, man. Effeminization. They offering you that. They trying to destroy you drip by drip, drop by drop, song by song. Trying to get you in your feelings because they know, man, if somebody stand up with the real truth and then people start listening, others are going to follow. And if you follow, man, you're going to hurt the economy. You're going to hurt a lot of things. You're going to hurt them. They don't want to be hurt. You're going to start denying them. You're going to start believing in yourself, man. They don't want that, but that's what we want. So we get that wickedness to shrink through the faith, okay? So now, he pursued the wicked and sought them out, and burned up those that vexed his people. Wherefore, the wicked shrunk for fear of him. Okay, so we're verse 6, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled because salvation prospered in his hand. Let's try and make salvation to prosper in our hand. What salvation is that? Did he deliver Israel and bring them into the kingdom of heaven? No, man. So the salvation is saying that, hey, Israel was being delivered from sin. That's the salvation right there. So each and every last brother out there, put that to mind, that we want salvation to prosper in our hands. We want to deliver people from their sin. We want to help people stop smoking, help people stop lying, help people stop fighting, help people stop whoring, help people stop keeping modern day, what do you call it? This Hellenized days, pagan days. But then we also want to give them something to exchange. You take something away, you give them something bigger. Give them a blessing. That's why this dedication of the altar, we have to blow it up. Because when we blow it up, our children are watching us. They're watching us. They listening. They seeing what we do. They seeing how we put our spirit to do. We just drag on in. Oh, I'm tired. You cook. I'm eating and go home. You ain't gonna do this like that. No, sir. I'm gonna lock you in here. we gonna feast and have a good time. No, you can't do that though. You have to put your spirit in. Because this whole world, man, I'm going to the store lately, and they got people in despair. It's like mesmerizing, you know, with all the Christmas music and stuff like that. I'm like, it's like they chanting or something. And I'm like, everybody just content. I'm like, don't y'all know this ain't talking about y'all? Don't y'all know that this is blasphemy? Don't y'all? But you know, it's like giving me a headache. I got to get out of here. I hate it so much. Man, my level of hate is dangerous. It's sickening. I have to control it because I dislike. Understand? I feel some type of way about this stuff. So when it comes to that, and I hate so much, but when it comes to this, I love so much. I'll be like, hey man, let's raise the roof. We don't need no water. You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, let's get here, let's get this. This is something we can do. This is for us, by us. This is, you know what I'm saying? This is us. This is something that's actually good to do. So when you got something that you can actually do, and you want to do it to the fullest. Yeah, you want to do it to the fullest. So hey, bring your A game, man. Bring your spirit and be ready. Okay? You know, I'm tired. You know, nothing like that. Okay, so First Maccabees 3 and 7 now. Go ahead.
He grieved also many kings, and made Jacob glad with his acts, and his memorial is blessed forever.
All right, so don't expect, you know, a lot of times brothers you out there teaching, don't expect them to be don't expect them to be happy. Some of the kings out there. You know. First of all, we out there plastered on our chest, we the real Israelites. You understand? They, you know, they be like, what is that? They do y'all in here not know they asked us? Yeah. They be bold enough to ask us, what is that? I see you got Israel on your. Well, you just answered your own question.
That's right.
What is that? I see you got Israel. It says Israel right there. What is that? What do you think it is? We know. We say that we know. And you know what they be like? Oh, okay. Yeah, oh, okay. We know. We be out there ignoring them. But I got a question. Okay, hold up. I'll get to you. Okay, hold up. Let me feed the children first. Let them first eat. It's not meat to take the children's bread and give it to the dogs. Won't even. They'll stand there until they leave. No, we ain't got nothing for you, man. When that day comes, we're going to take you and put you to your place, in your place. Then we got a lot for you then. It's a lot for you to do then. But for right now, go rule. Okay? You got something to boss around. But it ain't these Israelites. So he grieved many kings and made Jacob glad with his acts, with his actions. You see, so that's an action right there. So they love to see you stand up and do something. People like to see us. Oh, I like what y'all doing. How many of you brothers, without answering, but how many of you brothers out there or sisters, people compliment what you're doing, and then you have a problem with them because they don't follow after you? Don't be like that. Please don't be like that. Everybody's not meant to follow after you. Okay? You're supposed to let your light so shine that they may see your good works. You're supposed to do that. And then they praise the Most High because you have just given them an example that they can follow. Something that they can see. You don't have to see them come up out the dirt and shine. You know, you don't get the praise for that. The Most High does. You did your job just by setting an example. So people ought to be glad with your acts. And his memorial is blessed because he did the right thing. Same thing with you. Your memorial can be blessed too if you do what's right. Now share the video. Tag somebody in it. Okay? Go share it. Share it. Right? Verse 8.
Moreover, he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them, and turning away wrath from Israel.
Right. And that's why keep trying to find all these different places to do what? To go teach. Okay? Destroying wickedness and trying to turn away the wrath. Understand the different sides in your community, they be judged by the Most High, because that's where those sins be committed. Drugs on the west side, prostitution on the north side, burglary on the east side, whatever on the south. What side did I miss? Whatever. You understand? So you have to go and you have to get into that. That's what he did. Okay, verse 9.
So that he was renowned unto the utmost part of the earth, and he received unto him such as were ready to perish. Then Apollonius gathered the Gentiles together, and a great host of Samaria, to fight against Israel. Which thing when Judas perceived, he went forth to meet him, and so he smote him and slew him. Many also fell down slain, but the rest fled. Wherefore Judas took their spoils, and Apollonius' sword also, and therewith he fought all his life long.
Right, so he kept the spoils. You see, so whoever came up against him, because the Spirit of the Lord was on them, they got defeated. Same thing with us. When you have the Spirit of the Lord on you, somebody come up against you wrongfully, they're going to lose. They're going to lose. All you have to do is be in the Spirit of the Most High, and they're going to lose. Anybody that fight up against you and they not supposed to, they're going to be destroyed. They're going to destroy themselves messing with you. Okay? And a lot of people don't understand that. You the apple of the Lord's eye, man. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Now when Saran, a prince of the army of Syria, heard say that Judas had gathered unto him a multitude and company of the faithful to go out with him to war.
Of the faithful. You see that? So they were commandment keepers. Go ahead.
He said, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom, for I will go fight with Judas and them that are with him who despise the king's commandment.
Right, so remember Judah, the 5th chapter? If you keep the commandments, somebody come up against you, you don't have a chance. That's why all the general assemblies that are scattered, we have to be on these commandments, because when you faithful, it's all right. When people come up against you, your deliverance gonna come. Even if the man have to appear with the sword, your deliverance gonna come. That's why teaching these commandments and keeping these commandments is that come first. You can have all the knowledge of the book, but if you don't have the application with charity, you ain't nothing. But you're going to be destroyed. Let's get there very quickly. Judas, the 5th chapter, so they can see. Okay. Judas, chapter 5. And to the point is verse 20.
This is Judas chapter 5 and verse 20. Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. But if there be no iniquity in their nation...
Right, see that? So now, hold that. You don't have to go back. I'm going back. This is Maccabees 3 and 13. When Saran, a prince of the army of Syria, heard that Judas had gathered unto him a multitude and company of the faithful. That part right there, in company of the faithful, to go out to war with him. So now, when you read the scriptures, so these nations know that. And that's why they try so desperately to keep you in sin. If they get you sinning, whoring, and hopping, and drugging, and buying cigarettes, and cross-dressing, sisters dressing like boys, boys dressing like girls, being effeminate, all that stuff, they got you, man. eating unclean foods, defiling the Sabbath day, hating your people, no unity. They got you. Their whole objective is to have you like that. Mass confusion. Okay, so now we back at Judas chapter 5. And what did you finish?
21.
21 now. Go ahead.
But if there be no iniquity in their nation,
Right, if they be faithful and there's no sin. If they be faithful and there's no sin. Go ahead.
let my Lord now pass by.
They better keep moving. You better keep moving. See that? They better keep moving. That's how you got to think. Israel, what's written in the scriptures, this is what we have to go off of. This is what we have to live off of. For real. You know what I'm saying? You can't just read this and then still be afraid. You have to read this and then expect the Most High to deliver whatever, whenever, however. That's not, you did your job. Your job is to believe. What more could you do? This situation and circumstances up upon you. What else can you do? You can't do nothing else. You can't prevail without help. So now I need your help. Okay? And now you got to keep the faith. You got to know that he said that they already know that they need to keep moving. Let us pass by. Go ahead.
Lest their Lord defend them.
Lest their Lord defend them. See, they knew that. They couldn't go to a certain city or town and knock on a certain door and get this Lord. They know that that Lord would appear. They know that he would appear. They've heard stories, horror stories. They know what happened in Egypt. They know what happened in a lot of lands. Go ahead.
And their God before them.
Go ahead.
And we become a reproach before all the world.
That's right. And we look clowned, straight destroyed in all the world. All right. So now let's go back.
This is 1 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 14. He said, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom, for I will go fight with Judas and them that are with him, who despise the king's commandment. So he made him ready to go up, and there went up with him a mighty host of ungodly to help him, and to be avenged of the children of Israel.
So you got the ungodly versus the faithful. Read on.
And when he came near to the going up of Beth Horon, Judas went forth to meet him with a small company. Who, when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas, how should we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day? Unto whom Judas answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of few. And with the God of heaven it is all one, to deliver with a great multitude or a small company. For the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of an host, but strength cometh from heaven. They come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us, and our wives and our children, and to spoil us. But we fight for our laws, our lives, and our laws.
Right. So what are they fighting for?
Their lives and their laws.
Their lives and their laws. Right. Okay. Let's see. Go ahead. So I can...
Verse 22. Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face.
Right. This is what 2 Kings. It's hesitant, but we'll grab it very quickly. 2 Kings 6. Second Kings chapter 6. So this is a situation to where like Israel was outnumbered. Okay, to where just like we just read, like Judas and his company was smaller than the Syrians, and now the same Syrians, they come up against Elisha. And let's start at verse, and he had to tell his servants that was with him to not be afraid. So 2 Kings chapter 6 and 13, I'll read it and give it to you. So I'm going to start at verse 13. It says, and he said, go and spy where he is, and that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, behold, he is in Dathan. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host. And they came by the night and compassed the city about. And when the servant, the man of God, was risen early and gone forth, behold, a host compassed the city both with chariots, with horses and chariots. And his servants said unto him, alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. So this is Joshua saying this unto his servant. Verse 17. Everybody pay close attention to this. Verse 17.
And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee.
Lord, he said, Lord, and he paused. That's a comma. He paused. So he was sincere. When you pray, you have to be sincere. Now, whether the Most High will do this for you, I can't say what he's going to do, what he's not going to do. But he did this. He said, Lord, I pray thee. So he's asking Yahweh for something. Go ahead.
Open his eyes.
Right. Open his eyes. Because his servant was completely shook. They were surrounded. When you surrounded, you dead. Our lives are snuffed out today, man. We're going to die. They're going to torture us. And you know they hung you. They cut you up in body pieces. They burned you. They did all type of stuff. So his servant was rattled. And he asked the Most High to open this man's eyes up. Go ahead.
That he may see.
Right, that he may see. Go ahead.
And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw. And behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha.
So now they were surrounded. Because Elisha then was here, and they were surrounded. So now the ones that surrounded them were surrounded. Yeah, with spirits on chariots that was on fire. What do you think they were ready to do? To destroy the enemy that was going to come against Elisha. But Elisha knew that. He knew that without the Most High opening up the vision, the spirit world, so that he can see into it. He just knew that his faith and that his help come from heaven. There are angels, Israel, in your life that are around you all the time. So those of you that are living in sin, you getting reported on all the time anyway. And you don't even know it. In that case, they're going to get you. And sometimes they cause the Most High, give them permission to bring destruction to you. A lot of times you don't understand that part though. That's another class. Then other times, those that are faithful, they cause you to be delivered. But this is something that we have got to know what we're dealing with. God is not far from us. Very nigh. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 18. And when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord and said, smite this people.
So now, the ones that we can see, do what with them? Smite them. Now check this out. With how they going to be smitten. Go ahead.
I pray thee with blindness.
With blindness. So now how do you think they were? So if you can't see, you can't fight. Yeah, so it was running into each other, falling on each other, stabbing each other, cutting each other up, not knowing who was who. Just every man trying to live, every man trying to survive. They were destroying themselves, man. This is the power of the Lord. And then these brothers here, they got their sticks in too. Man, you messing with, told you, mess with us. All right, so that's it, y'all. Let's go back. Did we finish Judith 5? All right. Back, yeah, tell them what you at.
This is 1 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 22.
Where my video sharers at, man? Okay. Y'all share the video. Let's go.
1 Maccabees 3 and 22. Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be ye not afraid of them. Now as soon as he had left off speaking, he leapt suddenly upon them. And so Saran and his hosts were overthrown before him. And they pursued them from the going down of Beth-horon unto the plain, where were slain about 800 men of them.
Man, do y'all see all the white supremacy pictures that y'all be seeing? You know, and they be looking all heroic and all this, and our fathers and men and uncles and sons worn out from work and this, that, and the third. It's like you never can imagine them being like that, being strong and being heroic. It's like soon he stopped talking, he was the first one to jump and start turning their butts up. Where do you think they get this stuff from, man? They take your history, man. They take your history. This is your heroic acts. And they make characters. Jason Bourne. Who else? Leonidas. Yeah. They take your records, man, and create stuff. And what's that? Gladiators. So this is we heroic. This is us. Go ahead.
And the residue fled into the land of the Philistines.
All right, so this is 1 Maccabees 3:25.
Then began the fear of Judas and his brethren, and an exceeding great dread, to fall upon the nations round about them, insomuch as his fame came unto the king, and all the nations talked of the battles of Judas. Now when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation, wherefore he sent and gathered together all the forces of his realm, even a very strong army. He opened also his treasure, and gave his soldiers pay for a year, commanding them to be ready whensoever he would need them. Nevertheless, when he saw that the money of his treasures failed, and that the tributes in the country were small, because of the dissension and the plague.
Right, because I was gonna say that because they took away the laws. So money don't be in the communities because when you breaking the laws, the Most High don't allow it to flourish. You finna read that. It's finna say that. We ain't got there yet, though. I already know it. First time I read, I was like, oh, the land was suffering. They weren't keeping the laws. Take the laws away, you take the prosperity away. Prosperity is only keeping of the commandments. That's it. You don't keep the commandments, you're not gonna prosper. You're gonna destroy yourself. Even if you're doing bad now, and you don't keep the commandments, you're going to be worse. You just don't see it. Go ahead.
Which he had brought upon the land and taken away the law.
Mm-hmm. See it? And taking away the laws. He took away the laws. So what do you think happened? The land went down. The people couldn't prosper. So you dealing with people that the Most High was in a covenant with. That they prosper if they keep the laws. So people that didn't want to follow him, they took a death. But those that followed him because they thought that it was that Greek fashions was cool, well, the Most High plagued them. then he the same ones that come back to try and get up off of them and get something from them, they ain't have nothing. Because their prosperity that they had in the beginning only came because they was dealing with the Most High. But when they start dealing with man, the gig was up. The Most High didn't bless you. The Most High is not going to bless you. You're not going to keep the commandments. Go ahead.
Which had been of old time. He feared that he should not be able to bear the charges any longer, nor to have such gifts to give so liberally as he did before. For he had abounded above the kings that were before him. Wherefore, being greatly perplexed in his mind, he determined to go into Persia.
So because of his own greed, he wanted to take more land, more this and more that. He got broke. Okay? Go ahead.
There to take the tributes of the countries and to gather much money. So he left Lysias, a nobleman, and one of the blood royal, to oversee the affairs of the king from the river Euphrates unto the borders of Egypt, and to bring up his son Antiochus until he came again. Moreover, he delivered unto him the half of his forces and the elephants, and gave him charge of all things that he would have done.
Who know what to do with the elephants? What machine looks like an elephant today? That's right, brother. A tank. A tank. That's what they used them for. It was a weapon. It was a weapon. The elephant was a weapon. They taught them. You can train animals. Okay? They would run. They would stomp. They would kick. They would gore. They would push with the tusk. Okay? And they also would lick your blood to eat you. Now I know that, if I'm not mistaken, elephants are vegetarians. But let's see if this part is in our lesson. No, it's not. We can get it. Go to the 6th chapter. First Maccabees 6. First Maccabees chapter 6. And I'll read it. I'm going to start at verse 28. It says, "Now when the king heard this, he was angry and gathered together all his friends and the captains of his army and those that had charge of the horse. There came also unto him from the other kingdoms and from the isles of the sea bands of hired soldiers, so that the number of his army was 100,000 footmen and 20,000 horsemen and 230 elephants exercised in battle. These went through Idumea and pitched against Pashur, which they assaulted many days, making engines of war. But they of Pashur came out and burned them with fire and fought valiantly. Upon this, Judas removed from the tower and pitched in Beth Zacharias over against the king's camp. Then the king, rising very early, marched firstly with his host towards Beth Zacharias, where his armies made them ready to battle, and sounded the trumpets, and listen, to the end they might provoke the elephants to fight. They showed them the blood of grapes and mulberries. So if they showed them the blood of grapes and mulberries, they was trying to trigger them to think that that was blood. So either these elephants are licking his blood or they're licking and biting. But if they going crazy over the blood because they want it, then these elephants knew what they were doing when they killed. So I would think that not only were they licking the blood, but they probably would be biting it too, even though that they were vegetarians. You can change the diet of a beast. You can change the nature of a beast if you introduce it into them. You understand? So that's what made me think, that right there. So let's go back. To First Maccabees, the 3rd chapter. And what verse you stop it up? Verse 34.
First Maccabees 3 and 34. Moreover, he delivered unto him the half of his forces, and the elephants, and gave him charge of all things that he would have done, as also concerning them that dwelt in Judea and Jerusalem, to wit, that he should send an army against them, to destroy and root out the strength of Israel, and the remnant of Jerusalem, and to take away their memorial from that place. And that he should place strangers in all their quarters, and divide their land by lot.
Right. So he's proposing to completely destroy Israel. Yeah. Root us out, root out the strength of Israel, the ones that was fighting for us. Take away any memory. That's what memorial is. These nations have been forever trying to get you not to remember. It's to the point now, to being an Israelite doesn't matter to them. You ask people, do you know? Oh yeah. It doesn't matter though. We all black people. We all people. So this little scheme, at one point in time, it did work. But now, the Most High has called us back and restoring us our history, our nationality. Okay? And that he should place strangers in their houses. That's where your quarters is. And then divide their land. That's why we don't have any land. Okay? So it's a pattern over and over and over. Every time this would happen. They would try and get rid of you so you don't exist, put you into captivity, call you by their names. That's why now Israel is scattered throughout the earth saying, we black and Latino. Well, I'm Hispanic. I'm African American. How are you two continents on the opposite sides of the planet? You like this? That's the same as zigzag. Come on, man. So that the king, he took half of the forces. Go ahead.
So the king took half of the forces that remained and departed from Antioch, his royal city, the 147th year, and having passed the river Euphrates, he went through the high countries. Then Lysias chose Ptolemy, the son of Dormenes, and Nicanor and Georgias, mighty men of the king's friends. And with them he sent 40,000 footmen and 7,000 horsemen to go into the land of Judea to destroy it, as the king commanded. So they went forth with all their power and came and pitched in Emmaus, in the plain country. And the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much, with servants, and came into the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves. A power also of Syria and of the land of the Philistines joined themselves unto them. Now when Judas and his brethren saw that miseries were multiplied, and that the forces did encamp themselves in their borders, for they knew how the king had given commandment to destroy the people, and utterly abolish them. They said one to another, Let us Let us restore the decayed estate of our people, and let us fight for our people and the sanctuary. Then was the congregation gathered together, they that might be ready for battle, and that they might pray and ask mercy and compassion. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept the stronghold. The heathen had their habitation in that place. And joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased. Wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together, and came to Mizpah over against Jerusalem.
So we couldn't even stay in our own place. Go ahead.
For in Mizpah was the place where they prayed aforetime in Israel. Then they fasted that day, and put sackcloth and cast ashes upon their heads.
Right. So as we can see how things completely got away from us because the other nations, the land once being a paradise, completely got decayed and went. It's just that it lay waste, it lay void, like a wilderness. Okay. There was none of her children that went in or out. I'm quoting from 45. The sanctuary, that was completely destroyed. That was the beautiful place that Solomon put his spirit in. That was destroyed. That it was trodden down. See what it says? Aliens, that means another nation. That doesn't mean someone from outer space. They posted up. The heathen had their habitation, and they stayed in that place. Okay, now we're going to jump back over to verse 48. So now what's inside the sanctuary? Our records. Go ahead.
Verse 48. And laid open the book of the law.
Right, so now you had books, writings, where the prophets, where the Most High said, write this and write that. So the writings of the prophets of men that had lived before Judas and them, they had wrote laws, books. Go ahead.
Wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Right, so they opened up, and now all of a sudden, they're like, what is this? And now that's why you see so-called white babies, so-called white men, so-called white angels, wings in their back. Those are all heathens who have instilled and put images inside of the books of the Lord. Go ahead.
They brought also the priest's garment, and the firstfruits, and the tithes, and the Nazarites they stirred up, who had accomplished their days. Then cried they with a loud voice toward heaven, saying, what shall we do with these? And whither shall we carry them away? For thy sanctuary is trodden down and profaned, and thy priests are in heaviness and brought low.
So that meant something to them. Yeah. Why though? Why did it get this bad? Because of the wickedness. So just like now today, you ever drive down the street? What's up, brother Shalom? You ever drive down the street and you see these broken down churches? You know why they like that? Because they wicked. The wickedness of the places. That's why they be all broken down. Everybody thinks because they can say Church of God in Christ that that's exactly what it is. No. That's you and the devil. Your boy. And that's why that's why it comes to pass. Okay? So now, but they were brokenhearted over the things. So now, where do we stop at? Verse 50, they cried. They cried towards the heaven. Verse 51, thy sanctuary is trodden down. Do y'all not know that the Most High wants us to take care of the sanctuary? These are little sanctuaries. The Most High wants you to take care of the little sanctuaries. He wants you to put your spirit into it. He wants you to keep it up. He wants you to build these little sanctuaries and take pride in them. He don't want you to just come together and be like, whatever. Come on, man. Israel, you have to put your spirit into this worship. Okay? Is that Ezekiel? Ezekiel, yes, Ezekiel 11. And 16.
This is Ezekiel chapter 11 and verse 16. Therefore say, Thus saith the Lord God, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come.
Right. So the Lord said He knows, man. He gonna be to us as a little sanctuary. Every little city has a place. These small little, what they're calling camps coming up, these are sanctuaries. These little small sanctuaries. These doings are of the Most High. Okay? Habakkuk. Habakkuk or Haggai? Haggai. Haggai chapter 1 and 7.
This is Haggai chapter 1 and verse 7. Thus saith the Lord of hosts.
Hold on for a second. You spell it A-G-G-A-I, Travan.
Right before Zechariah.
Right before Zechariah. Okay, Haggai 1 and verse 7. Go ahead.
This is Haggai chapter 1 and 7. Thus said the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. Go up to the mountain and bring wood and build the house.
Right, and build the house. So does the Most High care? Of course He cares. We supposed to care too. So go up to the mountain and take wood and build a house. What house you think He's talking about? They were sitting up there just letting the sanctuary go down, man, and wasn't going to repair it. They didn't care. Can't do that. Okay, go ahead.
And I will take pleasure in it.
He said He's going to take pleasure in it. So everything that the Most High sees us doing, He's going to take pleasure in it. Why? Because He sees that we love this truth. We love Him. He gave this heritage to us. He gave us these instructions. And we honor the place that He gave us to come and fellowship with us. So He's going to respect that, man. He's going to love that. He's going to see how creative. We're going to narrow on down to a small degree. Just imagine you see your children building something. They constructing something. And they creative with it. Whether they're in the yard, they building a box, or they building a tree house, a playhouse, or whatever. And they actually beautifying and they doing it. Some people are mechanically inclined. And they can put some stuff together. So you don't think that you're going to be like, wow, look at that. I mean, you might not go out there and play in it. But you definitely going to be like, I like the fact that they doing that. You understand? Hey, that's how the Lord is. Okay? So he told us, I will take pleasure in it and be glorified. Okay? Said the Lord. Read the next one.
Verse 9, ye looked for much, and lo, it came to little. And when ye brought it home, I did blow upon it.
That's your money. That's your paychecks. You brought it home, he blew upon it. Something happens. Some of you be wondering like, hey man, what happened? What happened to my money? What happened to my check? Read.
Why, said the Lord of hosts?
Why? Yeah. Why did he blow on it? Said the Lord. Go ahead.
Because of mine house that is waste.
Because his house that is waste. Does God actually stay in? Did he stay at Jerusalem in that house? The answer is no. Did he stay in the next thing that they had after it been burned several times? He didn't live in there one time. But that whole place was for other people to come fellowship and keep the commandments and actually learn. And they let it come down to crumbles. But then they was like brushing their house and painting it and decorating and said, oh, look, my house look good. Look, my house look fly. Oh, look at my man cave. Look at my beauty parlor. Look at my TV. Look at this. Look at that. The Lord said, okay. Now look at that. Now you got a costly repair. You understand? He blew upon. He makes certain things happen, man. Okay? He'll call them giants on you. There's nothing you can do about it. You know, the utility giants, the ones that you can't, that always wins the argument. Don't they always win? Always win the argument. Okay? Let's see. Because my house is waste and you run every man to his own house. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, with 1 Maccabees chapter 3. And where'd you stop at?
1 Maccabees 3 and verse 52.
52. 1 Maccabees, Shalom. 3 and 52. Go ahead.
And lo, the heathen also are assembled together against us to destroy us. What things they imagine against us, thou knowest. How shall we be able to stand against them, except thou, O God, be our help? Then sounded they with trumpets, and cried with a loud voice. And after this, Judas ordained captains over the people, even captains over thousands, and over hundreds, and over fifties, and over tens. But as for such as were building houses, or had betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, those he commanded that they should return, every man to his own house, according to the law. So the camp remained removed.
So he's quoting Deuteronomy 20, verse 5. Go ahead.
Verse 57. So the camp removed and pitched upon the south side of Emmaus. And Judas said, arm yourselves and be valiant men.
Right, so why do you think those that were engaged to wives, betrothed for wives? Because your mind wasn't going to be there. Your mind wasn't going to be there. That's what we was talking about earlier. You have to be serious. You can't be out there and you worried about going home and your woman and your this and your that. You can't be like that. You know, we just got to grow. You know, we got to grow. These things can be fixed. They could be corrected. But at this stage here, this is war. So he's going to fight. So if they had the wife on the mind or they work on him, he could tell. Or they were just fearful. How can you tell fear? You smell it. You got that look in your eye. You kind of hesitate. Like, let's wait on God. We're going to go tuck and run. Yeah, the Most High, he wants us to fight. We gonna run if we got to run, but we still got to do something. Hey, man, he sent them jokers home. So he told them in 58, arm yourselves and be violent men, meaning be strong men. And that's what we have to do. We have to be strong-minded men and see that you be in readiness against the morning, that ye may fight against these, you might fight with these nations. Okay, so they were going to fight that are assembled together against us to destroy us and our sanctuary. You see, so they were very protective pertaining to their sanctuary. But it's better for us to die in battle than to behold the calamities, meaning to see the destruction of our people and the sanctuary. And the sanctuary. Okay? Nevertheless, as the will of God is in heaven, so let him do it. So the sanctuaries, Israel, we have to make sure, man, you know, that we take care of the sanctuary. Okay? Verse 50. Chapter 4, verse 1. Go ahead, Al.
This is 1 Maccabees 4:1. Then took Georgias 5,000 footmen, and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews, and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army which was at Emmaus. While as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp, in the mean season came Georgias by night into the camp of Judas. And when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains. For said he, these fellows flee from us. But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their minds. And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed about with horsemen. And these were expert of war.
So that's probably where they get 300 from. Go ahead.
Verse 8. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with an army. Now therefore, let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day, that so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel.
So they standing out there. Listen to this picture. 6,000. So it's 5,000 footmen and then 1,000 on horsemen. So you got 6,000 against how many? 3,000. Twice as many. And they didn't even have any armor. Where his armor, like a breastplate that he put on, where his armor and his sword was, I don't know. But ain't none of them have any weapons. They ain't have nothing. Okay? And they were waiting for the Most High. It says, peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us and remember the covenant. So even if you outnumbered, and you don't have any weapons, you have no defense system, still keep your faith in the Most High in Christ. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 12. Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle.
Oh, Salaki. So after the statement, if you don't have no weapons, no this, no that, when you read 11, it says, so that all the heathen may know that there is one that delivered and saved. Right? Okay. Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Go ahead.
Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle. But they that were with Judas sounded their trumpets. So they joined battle, and the heathen being discomfited, fled into the plain. Howbeit all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them unto Gaza.
So they turned their back. So they were twice as much as Judas and his company. And they had weapons and everything. But Judas and his friends, they whooped their butt. And to the point to where they began to flee. Then on top of that, then they start losing their life. All because of the what? to have faith in the Most High. So faith is very important. Okay, go ahead.
And into the plains of Idumea and Azotus and Jamnia, so that there were slain upon 3,000 men. This done, Judas returned again with his host from pursuing them, and said to the people, Be not greedy of the spoils, insomuch as there is a battle before us, and Georgius and his host are here by us in the mountain. But stand ye now against our enemies, and overcome them, and after this ye may boldly take the spoils. As Judas was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain, who when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight, and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. When therefore they perceived these things, they were sore afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight, they fled every one into the land of strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver, and blue silk, and purple of the sea, and great riches.
So we're in 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 24. Go ahead.
After this they went home, and sung a song of thanksgiving, and praised the Lord in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endureth forever.
So why, and it wasn't keeping the Thanksgiving, but why were they thanking the Most High? Was it because they got whooped, or because they did the whooping? They did the whooping. So why would you give thanks and you got destroyed? You don't give thanks and you got destroyed. Go ahead, Slaki.
Verse 25.
Right.
Thus Israel had great deliverance that day.
Right. Israel didn't get delivered. Did they get delivered from the Spaniards, the conquistadors? No, they didn't. So there was nothing to celebrate. You don't celebrate your defeat. You mourn, man. You cast yourself down for your defeat. And so a lot of people, guess, they don't understand. When we celebrate because of deliverance. Okay? Verse 26, 1 Maccabees 4:26.
Now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias what had happened, who when he heard thereof was confounded and discouraged, because neither such things as he would were done unto Israel.
Right, he wanted to completely rob them and destroy them and burn their cities and everything. Go ahead.
Nor such things as the king commanded him were come to pass. The next year, therefore, following, Lysias gathered together 70,000 choice men afoot.
That's 60. Go ahead.
And 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them.
So now you got 65,000 people. 65,000 people, man, to try to destroy Judas and his brother. Go ahead.
So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsura, and Judas met them with 10,000 men. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gavest the host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan the son of Saul, and his armor bearer. Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen.
Right. When you be confounded in your power and horsemen, that means it's too much. Yeah, you got too much going on. You can have, if a crowd is too big, what can happen to the people that's in the middle? They get trampled, man. Yeah, it get, cops will follow you. You get trampled over. All right? So that was too much. Let them be confounded. with their power and their horsemen. They're going to destroy themselves. Go ahead, make them to be.
Verse 32, make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction.
So in other words, give them a spirit of fear, no courage, and etc. A lot of times we think that, you know, people that they strong and they fearless, they, you know, they cannot be defeated. Man, before I didn't know no better, but before this truth, I was young, man, I was whooping big cats. I'd be calling them out. They'd be men. That'll work. Like, all right, cloak up. I was, you know, I didn't know no, I was a fighter, man. I didn't know no better. I'm telling you, it's a fight, man. And then it be bragging like I never lost a fight. Of course, I didn't know. I could have lost my life. But I used to fight, man. And I'm glad I found this truth, you know, to lead me in the right direction. But, you know, I understand what it's like not to be afraid, you know, in a situation to where the average person, you know, your life is on the line. You know, I wasn't fearful like that. You know, I wasn't gonna let you get me though. No. I'm gonna let you get me. I'm gonna get you first. You know, element of surprise. Pow! That first one, damage. You got to do damage. Pow! He cheated. I won. Now don't come around here. Yeah, man. But that's how that's how these dudes was, man. They was some beasts, brothers. They wasn't no pussycats, man. As far as men, they was some fighters. All right, so where did we stop at?
Verse 33.
Yeah, and then if they had the spirit, the Lord take their courage away and take the boldness, and then Judas and them on the opposite was like lions. Man, they was invincible, man. Verse 33.
Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. So they joined battle, and there was slain of the host of Lycius about 5,000 men. Even before them were they slain. Now when Lycius saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judas' soldiers.
See that? And the manliness of Judas, his soldiers, not just Judas, but his soldiers. Yeah. Go ahead.
And how they were ready to either live or die valiantly.
They were ready to live or die. You understand? They wasn't afraid. I'm trying to save my life. They got something else on their mind. No. What I got on my mind is me going against all of y'all. Bring it on. He went into Antiochia. Go ahead.
And gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was.
So he still ain't learned. This is the nations, they still ain't learned. And sometimes we count them tough when they come back. Oh, they coming back for more. They tough. No, they coming back for more because they got defeated. They got defeated because the Most High bust them up. Go ahead.
He purposed to come again into Judea. Then said Judas and his brother, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary.
Right. Cleanse and repair. Repair. Okay? The sanctuary. Dedicate it. You know, you ain't gonna dedicate it, it's all broken down, so they would repair it. Okay? Go ahead.
Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together, and went up into Mount Zion, And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profane, and the gates burned up, and shrubs growing in the inner courts, as in a forest.
As in a forest. What happens to the shrubs in the forest? Do anybody cut them down? Nope. Nobody was tending to this thing. That's how they found it. What about the people that was the inhabitants that was there? Do you think they was gonna do something about it? No. They need examples. They need leadership. They need people to show. And that's what we have got to do. We have got to set examples that we care about the sanctuary. Go ahead.
Or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priest's chambers pulled down. They rent their clothes and made great lamentation, and cast ashes upon their heads.
Right. Meaning they cried. Great lamentation. They cried, man. They cried. They felt violated. Because that's the place that they knew that was there for people to do what? Come to change their lives, man. It meant something to them. They were in tears. Go ahead.
And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary, and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down, and laid upon the stones in the mountain of the temple a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. Then took they whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary, and the things that were within the temple, and hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick, and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light into the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu.
Right, that's what we're dealing with, the 25th. Okay, of the month Caslu. Go ahead.
In the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings, which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it.
Right, so the same day that they profaned it is the same day that they rededicated it back unto the Most High years later. Go ahead.
Even in that was it dedicated with songs, and citrons, and harps, and cymbals. Then all the people...
So where'd you stop at?
Verse 55.
Verse 55. So verse 54, it says they dedicated it with songs, so expect music, citrums, harps, cymbals. So those are just instruments. Okay? They did that. Go ahead.
Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success.
So make sure during that time, Israel, you're sending up prayers that the Most High had delivered our people and given them success, because you want him to do that to us too. Okay, go ahead.
And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise.
All right, so this is a 8-day event. 8 days, not 2 days, not 3 days and you're tired. Every day. 8 days. Every day for 8 days. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 57. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there a very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year, by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness.
Right. Every day with happiness, mirth, and gladness. Okay? So everybody will have a good time. Go ahead.
And at the time also they builded up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down, as they had done before. And they set their garrisons to keep it.
Right. A garrison is like a troop of people, a troop of men, like soldiers, to keep it. Okay? Because they didn't want the work to be hindered. They didn't want people to destroy it, so they even had security. Okay, go ahead.
And fortified Bethsura, to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea.
Right. Okay. So, okay, bear with me, Israel. Second Maccabees, Second Maccabees chapter 3, and then this will be it. I just thought about this. You know, more precepts to keep our faith up. Yeah, brother, we gonna turn it up. To show you the deliverance of the Lord and the things that He's capable of when we keep our faith in Him. Okay. Let's see where we jump in at. I'll read. Second Maccabees chapter 3 and 1. It says, "Now the holy city was inhabited with all peace, and the laws were kept very well because of the godliness of Onias the high priest, and his hatred for wickedness. And it came to pass that even the kings themselves did honor the place and magnify the temple with great gifts, and so much that Seleucus, king of Asia, of his own revenues, bare all the costs belonging to the service of the sacrifices. But one Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was made governor of the temple, fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city. And when he could not overcome Onias, he got him Apollonius, the son of Thraces, who then was governor of Syria and Phoenice, and told him that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums of money. So this Simon became a traitor, and he told this heathen about all the wealth that was inside of the treasury, that was inside of the temple. This was after things had been rebuilt. Okay. So if you back up to the second chapter in the 19th verse, it tells you, now it's concerning Judas Maccabeus and his brethren, and the purification of the great temple and the dedication of the altar. So this is after that. So everything is back to normal. Our money is up and everything. And so things were set in order. So now this Benjamite, Simon, he turned traitor. So verse 6, and told him that the treasury, because he couldn't, him being wicked and Onias was righteous, he couldn't run things. Wickedness don't never get along with righteousness. If you, and they were dwelling in the same temple. So if you in a house and you always having friction, the scriptures say only by pride come to contention. You understand? Somebody wrong and somebody right. Okay? So now, so it told him that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums of money, so that the multitude of their riches, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifices, was innumerable. And it was possible to bring all into the king's hand. So he wanted to have control over the sanctuary. So he said, I can get you this money. Now when Apollonius came to the king and had showed him of the money whereof he was told, the king chose Helidorius his treasurer and sent him to with the commandment to bring him the foresaid money. So Apollonius told the king Antiochus, and Antiochus told Helidorius, and Helidorius is a treasurer for Antiochus, and now Helidorius is coming into Jerusalem to get this money. So verse 8, so forthwith Helidorius took his journey under the color of visiting the cities of Syria, Phoenice, but indeed to fulfill the king's purpose. So he went like on a little trip. Verse 9, and when he was come to Jerusalem, he had courteously received of the high priest. He had been courteously received of the high priest, and told him what intelligence was given of the money, and declared wherefore he came, and asked if these things were so indeed. Then the high priest told him that there was such money laid up for the relief of widows and fatherless children. So he didn't lie. He told him, yes, the money exists, but it's for widows and fatherless children, meaning in order to help the less fortunate. Okay, so it's 2 Maccabees 3 and 11 now, and that some of it belonged to Hyrcanus, son of Tobias, a man of great dignity. So a lot of the wealth, maybe, obviously they was keeping it. Is this Tobias's? Did Tobias have a son? We don't know. But we know that Tobias had bags of money. He had money. Anyway, and not as that wicked Simon had misinformed. The sum whereof in all was 400 talents of silver and 200 of gold. and that was altogether impossible that such wrongs should be done unto them that had committed it to the holiness of the place, and to the majesty and inviolable sanctity of the temple, honored over all the world. But Heliodorus, because of the king's commandment given him, said that in any wise it must be brought into the king's treasury. So he didn't care what was said. We must confiscate this money. 2 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 14 now. So at the day which he appointed, he entered in to order this matter. Wherefore there was no small agony throughout the whole city, but the priests prostrating themselves before the altar in their priest garments, called unto heaven upon him that made a law concerning things given to be kept. Okay, so you can read that in Exodus 22 and 7. It's a law pertaining things to be kept, that they should be safely preserved for such as has committed them to be kept. So if somebody give you something to keep, that's exactly what you do. You don't keep it. Personally, you don't spend it, I'm going to replace it. No. You still the old man. Verse 16. Then whosoever had looked the high priest in the face, it would have wounded his heart, for his countenance and the changing of his color declared inward agony of his mind. You can tell that his mind was all jacked up. For the man was so compassed with fear and horror of the body that it was manifest to them that looked upon him what sorrow he had now in his heart. I guess it's like losing everything on the crap table. Or you went did something stupid, you went lost your everything, and you don't want that to be true, but it's true. But please, if there's any bowels of compassion, I made a mistake by even he lost, he's gonna get everything taken, so his countenance displayed that. Verse 18. Others ran flocking out of their houses to the general supplication, because the place was like to come into contempt. Meaning they like, come, I can't believe this. What is this man doing? And the women, girt with sackcloth under their breasts, abounded in the streets, and the virgins were kept in, ran, some to the gates and others to the walls, and others looked out their windows. Remember, they had built walls to protect. They ran to the gate. Everybody was like, because they knew what these soldiers was there doing. And all, holding their hands toward heaven, made supplication. So now, the Most High is looking down at the city of Jerusalem, and he's seeing all of this confusion inside of his city. Pay attention. Then it would have pitied a man to see the falling down of the multitude of all sorts, and the fear of the high priest being in such agony. It was supposed to pity a man. They then called upon the Almighty Lord to keep the things committed of trust safe and sure, for those things had committed them. Nevertheless, Heliodorus executed that which was decreed. Now as he was there present himself with his guard about the treasury, the Lord of spirits and the Prince of all power caused a great apparition. That means a sighting, okay? So that all that presumed to come in with him were astonished at the power of God. So Heliodorus and all of the people was with him. They saw something and fainted. So they fainted, and they were so afraid. Verse 25, 2 Maccabees 3, verse 25. And there appeared unto them a horse with a terrible rider upon him, and adorned with a very fair covering. And he ran fiercely, and he smote at Helodorius with his forefeet. And it seemed that he that sat upon the horse had complete harness of gold. Moreover, 2 other young men appeared before him, notable in strength, excellent in beauty, and comely in apparel, who stood by him on either side. So now you got a man on a horse with a golden saddle, a golden harness, and you got 2 other men, one on each side. 2 Maccabees 3 and the end of 26. And scourged him continually and gave him many sore stripes. So now they're beating Helodorius. And Helodorius fell suddenly to the ground and was compassed with great darkness. But they that were with him took him up and put him in a litter, meaning in a box. Thus him that lately came with a great train, meaning him, he just came with a whole bunch of people, and with all his guard into the said treasury, they carried out, being unable to help himself with his weapons, and manifestly they acknowledged the power of God. Because they was telling them that God is in this place, and God forbid that you do this. This ain't right. This stuff, we didn't lie to you. This stuff is kept. People trust us to keep this. You can't do this, this and this and this. Verse 29. For he by the hand of God was cast down, and lay speechless without all hope of life. So the man was completely knocked out. He was in a world of blackness. He was gone. He was out. They picked him up and put him in a litter, like in a box. Verse 30. But they praised the Most High that had miraculously. This is what we be looking for. These are the things that you must remember. Miraculously honored his own place, for the temple, which had little afore, was full of fear and trouble. When the Almighty Lord appeared, was filled with joy and gladness. So that was Yahushua that appeared. Then straightways certain of Helodorus' friends prayed Onias that he will call upon the Most High to grant him his life, who lay ready to give up the ghost. So the high priest, suspecting lest the king Antiochus should misconceive that some treachery had been done to Helodorus by the Jews, offered a sacrifice for the health of the man. And he did that because he wanted to stop the retaliation from Antiochus. Because he could have felt that, well, I sent them down there and y'all killed them. Now they're gonna send 100,000 troops and now we back at war again. So he took it to the Most High. Okay, verse 33. 2 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 33. Now as the high priest was making an atonement, the young men in the same clothing appeared and stood beside Helodorus, saying, give Onias the high priest great thanks. So these are the two that was with Yahushua, talking to Helodorus. Insomuch as for his sake the Lord have granted thee life, and seeing that thou hast been scourged from heaven, declare unto all men the mighty power of God. Meaning make everybody know, I'm going to make you a mouthpiece. Do you think now he's going to start preaching the Bible? No. It's going to tell you what it's talking about. Stay with me. First Maccabees 3:34. And when they had spoken these words, they appeared no more. They gone. So Heliodorus, after he had offered sacrifice unto the Lord, and made great vows unto him that had saved his life, and saluted Onias, returned with his host to the king, then testified to all men the works of the great God which he had seen with his own eyes, with his eyes. And when the king asked Heliodorus who might be a fit man to be sent yet once again to Jerusalem, he said, if thou hast any enemy or traitor, send him thither. And thou shalt receive him well scourged, if he escape with his life. So you see that was the whole purpose of leaving him alive, so that he can know that if anybody come up against him, that they got protection. So Antiochus asked him when he got back, because he was a dead mission. He was like, well, who do you think I can send? He said, well, if you got an enemy or a traitor, send him. Oh, and he gonna come back well scourged. Somebody you want vengeance on? For in that place, no doubt, there is a special power of God. For he that dwelleth in heaven have his eye on that place, and defended it. And he beateth and destroyeth them that come to hurt it. Okay? So that's it. This is what y'all got defending y'all, man. This is what we supposed to never ever forget. So as that day coming in, so we should be through with this. So we expect y'all to remember this, man. So when this day come in, know this same power defended our foreparents and brought the nations to dust, and Judas and his company recovered the sanctuary back, built a new altar, decked it out, decked the sanctuary, they fixed it back up, and dedicated it back to the Most High. Okay, so all praises. Any questions? Any brothers got anything to add to this that will go to this? Oh, and it is kept for 8 days. The first day is a Sabbath, and the 8th day is a Sabbath. Okay, the first day is
I think, they saying that I can just write it normal, right, on 12:2.
so that's what's the topic about? The dedication of the altar. That's a high holy day when the Greeks came in and burned the temple at Jerusalem, destroyed it, sacrificed an idol altar by putting it up on top of the altar that we had. And it took us a few years to get it back. So, where are the artifacts of Yahushua, and why are there no artifacts of the wonderful works? This is what we have right here. Remember, brother, you've been in slavery and captivity for since the 1400s. So you're not finna find nothing on the surface. And then it ain't no images or nothing like that. Remember, everything is in the hand of the Most High. The Most High don't want you to have no images nowhere. You ain't finna find no his garment and all of that stuff is. Yahushua was here over 2,000 years ago, brother. Ain't nothing lasting 2,000 years. Don't let man fool you. Maybe a piece of metal. You understand? Metals, stones. Ain't nothing lasting 2,000 years though. No beast, no tree. Ain't nothing lasting like that, brother. So this is day one. This is day one. And that's, what day is that? That's a Sunday. So Sunday coming up. Sunday coming up. And the closing is the 8th. And even what day is that? No, the 10th. The 10th, I'm slacking. The 10th.
Monday.
I'm messing up. So this is a Sunday.
That's a Monday. So I'm writing that stuff up there so y'all don't have no excuses. The first day is the Sabbath. Mark your calendar. Those are Sabbath days. You got the phones? Mark your calendars. Don't be buying and selling on the Sabbath days. None of those days fall on the 7th day Sabbath, so you can cook on those days. Okay? This is an 8th day feast. All right? This is an 8th day feast called dedication of the altar. Okay? You want to read, for those of you that just jumped in, if you want to recap, not verbally, but the precepts, 1 Maccabees, chapter 3, 4, and 5. I'll tell you about it. 1 Maccabees, chapter 3, 4, and 5. I'll write that down. Right. Yeah.
Man, I gotta write it in reverse for them.
First Maccabees chapter 3 through 5. Give you a history of dedication of the altar. Okay? So, Matthew 26. And if anybody ever want to come out here and come out to St. Louis and keep one of the feast days with us, just inbox me and let me know. We'll show you and help you make that possible, okay? So, Matthew 26 and verse 6. Now when Christ was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Yahushua, whom the world calls Jesus, understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye are the poor always with you, but me you have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman hath done be told for a memorial of her. So all praises to the Most High for giving his sister the Spirit to come forth and give Christ some comfort for his burial, and also bring forth a broken and contrite heart, okay, which left an example for us, okay? The Lord's Communion, 1 Corinthians 11 and 23. So we definitely can work on, we can talk about maybe the decorations for the dedication. Have y'all started that yet? Chopped that up about that yet? Okay. So that, and then the board where we got Passover. Okay. So, 1 Corinthians 11:23, I received of the Lord that which also I delivered unto you, that Hamashiach Yahushua, so Hamashiach meaning Messiahs, Yahushua, that's how you pronounce Christ's name in the Hebrew, Yahushua, okay? The same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye. See, right there. All repentant Israelites are commanded to keep the communion of the Messiah. Right there. See where it says, this do ye? So whenever the Most High, through Christ, tells us to do something, we have to do it. Okay? So I believe that there are some that might be feeling a little funny about taking the communion. Well, apply the commandments. If thou doest well, you'll be accepted. Keep the commandments, you won't feel convicted. Like, hey man, I don't want to take the communion. You know, I feel bad. Okay? So it says, this do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me. Christ said to remember him. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Lord's death till he come. So that communion happens while we're fellowshipping. Okay? That's, you know, there's a benefit for taking the communion. Like there's a benefit for gathering and coming together, which The iron sharpening iron, brothers, sisters, helping each other, learning about the Most High Christ, learning how to deal on a day-to-day basis, learning the sufferings of Christ. Because if you can identify, with the sufferings of the Messiah, then you also gonna be able, it's gonna be pointed out that he likewise went through certain things, but instead he cast himself in the care of the Most High. And in doing so, the Most High comforted his spirit with the knowledge of his will. Okay? And that's what a lot of times, that's what we need when we feel in some type of way. We need the knowledge of the will of the Most High to be comforted. A lot of you going through things and don't really know that that's the part that you have to play. Hereunto were you called. You was called to be a partaker of those sufferings. And a lot of times we want to point the finger. He did this, she did that, they said this. No, that's the trying of your faith. No pain, no gain. And everybody that's here, you want that gain in this truth. You want to be better. You understand? You want to be able to contribute. Everybody wants to help. You want to edify, admonish, teach, instruct, counsel, advise. You can do it. Everybody wants to do that. But first, you got to be able to rule yourself. Because if you can't rule yourself, how you going to help rule over men? Scriptures say, he that ruleth over men must be just. 2 Samuel 23. 2 Samuel 23. He that ruleth over men must be just. You got to be just to yourself. Ruling in the fear of God. You yourself got to fear the Most High. Okay? So now, and we all want to do that. So first, let's work on us. So we stop at 1 Corinthians 11, and we have to show the Lord's death. 26, for as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, we show his life and death. Okay? That's probably why you run out. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you show his death. Wherefore, whoso let's see. Yeah. Remember, but Christ is gone. And so now, as oft. So do this often. Okay? As often as you eat this bread. So that's often. Often is, yeah. Okay? When we come together. And check this out. I'm going to show you this precept to go. I don't know if it's going with what you're saying, but it's going to... because somebody on here said that they did it. Let me see, make sure that this is something I need to say. Acts 20. It said Yahweh Shai took it once on the Passover. Some brothers take it more often than others. Acts 20 and seven. Read that.
This is Acts 20 and 7. And upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow. and continued his speech unto midnight.
Right, so that was the first day of the week there. So every first day of the week, the disciples would come together, break bread, counsel, so on and so forth. So when they came together as often, every time they would come together, they mainly would come together upon the first day of the week. That was a day that they set aside to come together. They would break bread. So this was far from the Passover. Okay, so now let's go back. First Corinthians 11 and
Acts 2 and 46 too.
Acts 2 and 46.
Acts 2:46.
Actually, you just start at verse 41. I'll read it and then give it to you. You can, Acts 2 and 41, they that were gladly received the word were baptized. So doing it when the apostles were baptized and the Israelites after Christ, the same day there were added unto them about 3,000 souls, and they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in breaking of bread, and in prayers, and fear came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were done by the apostles, and all that believed were together and had all things in common, and sold their possessions and goods, and parted them to all men as every man had need. Go ahead.
Verse 46, and they continued daily.
And they continue. So this happened every day. Every day. Go ahead.
With one accord.
Go ahead.
In the temple.
In the temple. Go ahead.
And breaking bread.
And breaking bread. So every day they broke bread. Every day they broke bread. When they came together, every day they broke bread, remembering Yahweh Shai. Okay, go ahead.
From house to house.
And because when they would go to these different houses and they were preaching and teaching, they were teaching them about Yahweh Shai and baptism for remission of sins and breaking of bread, and showing them you have to remember Christ. This is his life. This is his death. This is resurrection. You understand? Okay, go ahead.
Did eat their meat with gladness and singleness of heart,
Go ahead.
praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to the church daily such as should be saved.
So everyone that the Most High was going to deal with, he was taking to them brothers, and they were coming together, and they were increasing. Okay, so let's go back and finish. 1 Corinthians chapter 11. And verse 27 or verse 26. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Lord's death till he come. Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. But let a man examine himself, so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. So everybody would have to examine themselves, okay? Because I'm sure as I brought it out, they brought it out. The severeness, the consequences from being fraudulent, right? So that's what I say, hey, you got to examine yourself. For he that eat it and drink it unworthily, eat it and drink it, what? Damnation, meaning a judgment to himself. Not discerning the Lord's body, meaning not caring about who? Yahweh Shai and the people, which is the Lord's body, the church, okay? For this cause many are weak and sickly among you, and many sleep. So people, Israel, you have problems because of this. Excuse me. For if we would judge ourselves, we should not be judged. But when we are judged, we are chastened. So when we don't stop, the Lord chastens us. We are chastened of the Lord that we should not be condemned with the world. So the Lord's going to bring in some form of judgment to stop us, to show us, I don't want you to do that. He's still going to save you, but now you're living having to keep the commandments and do the thing that you had to do from the beginning, with some form of affliction on you. So, you know, the counsel of the Lord is just humble yourself before something happens, before you get sick. And don't tempt him to the point to where he have to chasten you. Because you know, it's meant for you to make it, but you're going to be halt. Halt means stop. You're going to be hindered and stopped from doing certain things that you would typically love to do. Okay? So, Most High in the name of Christ, thank you for the food and drink I made. This is body which is broken for you. This is blood. In Israel, we do this online so that you can see, you can put the scriptures to the action. Every repentant Israelite should be partaking in the communion of the Lord, the breaking of bread. Say the good stuff for life. What was that? I wonder the stuff we just got, wasn't it?
No, you don't want to leave this. Pretty good.
Nah. Give me an old big old cup full, so I don't even drink. You don't give me a cup full, you know. Make it the good stuff. No, but you know, I actually started consider getting the rough stuff. And the life of Christ is rough, man. We trying to make it bittersweet. Make it sweet. Give it the good stuff. Yeah. No. His life make you pucker at the mouth. Get some of that old pucker stuff. Man, I'm so happy to see y'all. I ain't seen y'all in how many days, man? Since the Sabbath. Sunday, Monday. Dang, that's too long. That's too long. All right, so we're going to stand and face Jerusalem. Stay around for the prayers.
You revoke that.
Yeah. Trying to make it like me.
Okay, Israel.
If every man was just like me, what kind of sanctuary would this be?
The Lord's Prayer, Matthew 6:9. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, that will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debt to us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
The laborers' prayer, Luke 10:2. Therefore said he unto them, the harvest truly is great, but the labors are few. Pray therefore the Lord of the harvest that he will send forth labors into his harvest. Bless you, Most High, King of heaven and earth, and all things, Most High. In the name of Christ, send more disciples and teachers to your harvest, to gather your people Israel, and send counsel behind your laws, to stand before the people Israel. Give to us strength to break down our lives with thy word. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
The blessing of Israel. Numbers chapter 6:24. Children of Israel, the Lord bless thee and keep thee. Lord, make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Children of Israel, bless one another.
Most high name of Christ, bless you all.
Just give me a moment.
Conference recording stopped. There are 1 attendees in this
Most high Christ bless. Okay, Israel, y'all have a good evening. Blessed night. Okay? If anybody need me, Shalom. Most high Christ bless you too, our ancestors. Anybody need me? Inbox me, all right? Shalom. Who's on here? Who's on YouTube? What's up, Shalom? Hey, brother, all praises, Joseph. I meant to call you, Joseph. How you been, brother? What's up, Judy? Shalom, man. How you been?